Very good afternoon and welcome to our session on the topic cervical screening for early cancer detection when and how. We are glad to have Dr. Amuda Hari with us today to help us understand the topic in details and all the important aspects of the same. So I would request you if you have any doubts, any queries related to the topic or related to the whole anything related to any cancer or pregnancy or any doubts, our doctor is here to help you out. You can just drop your questions on the comment section and the doctor will take up by the last of the session. Also, if you're not able to post it while the screening, you can have it later and the doctor will answer it later. So now I would request doctor to take over the stage. Doctor, you have the stage.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Um, the topic today is cervical cancer screening. When and who should do? See, basically, all of us, one thing all of us are really, really scared. I mean, all of us have this fear. Is that will I ever get a cancer? Is because we have had such horror stories about cancer. All of us are really scared. Even people who advertise say there is one in 250 who can possibly contract a cervical cancer. So, with that in the background, I would like to say first and the foremost is please let us not worry or fear cancer, but at the same time, let us take caution so that uh, we are able to prevent it, if not treat it early, so that we don't have to have a problem because of the cancer. Okay. Now, cervical cancer is one of the very important cancers a woman can contract. What is cervical cancer? Cervical cancer is something the uterus has two portions. One is the fundal, which goes up to the cervix, and second is the cervix. Cervix is the mouth portion of the uterus. Now, that is the portion that is inside the vagina. Sometimes you will be even able to feel it. When you use a menstrual cup, the portion that is you're trying to sort of snugly fit around is the cervix. Now, the cervix is the mouth portion, and when you get a problem or a cancer in the region, it is called cervical cancer. Now, what is the cervical cancer made up of? Let us sort of kind of understand it medically just for a minute, whatever you need to understand. Like it is made up of an ectocervix and an endocervix. Endocervix is a inside portion which is made up of glandular cells, and ectocervix is the outside portion which is made up of squamous cells. And when they both meet, it is called transition. That's it. That's all. So, cervical cancer can, if it can happen, either it can happen as a squamous carcinoma, or it can happen in a glandular cell as an adenocarcinoma, or it can happen as a mixed carcinoma. These are the main reasons, I mean, main types of cancer that can happen in the cervix. Now, what are the, first let us understand what are the signs and symptoms. Another just about few minutes. Now, whenever the woman has intermenstrual bleeding, suddenly it's not her period time and she is starting to bleed. And post-coital bleeding, that is after she has had a physical sex, she is suddenly having spotting. When she has irregular spotting, when she's not aware why this is happening, then a foul smelling discharge, which is can be watery, with can be with the blood, which can be with the yellowish fluid, whatever it is, it's a foul smelling vaginal discharge which is persisting. And you can have a lot of abdominal pain, and like any other cancer, you can have loss of appetite, loss of weight. So these are the warning signs that you need to worry about cervical cancer. Now, this at our knowledge, let us understand how do you prevent it. Because not all cancers are preventable. Because there are certain cancers you can't even let us, for example, take liver or a lung. You will it will call. I mean, catch you like unawares. You're not sure that you can screen for it that easily. But cervical cancer is one cancer that is easily preventable because you can test, you can understand a precancerous lesion, and from the time it is precancerous to the time it is a frank cancer, women can easily have about 6 to 8 years. So if we are able to treat her properly within that gap, within that time, then you can avoid that cancer. So that is the reason that it is very important that you understand. Uh, it is important to do a certain test to detect or to understand whether you have any precancerous lesion in the cervix. Now, who are prone to cervical cancers? Anyone can get it. With that as a background, people who have had an early sexual contact, multiple sexual partners, repeated infections, vaginal infections, cervical infections, particularly with human papilloma virus, and very poor genital hygiene. And these are the people who are little prone to having a cervical cancer. Now, cervical cancer, what do I do? When you take Western countries, it is mandatory for all the women who is above, particularly in the reproductive age group, to have a pap smear. And whenever they go for a checkup, they have a pap smear. But in Indian women, it is optional. Nowadays, most of the women health check do have a pap smear and an ultrasound as a integral part of the checkup. But most of the women on their own are little scared of having a pap smear. It is like a fear of unknown. It is not that pap smear is very difficult to take or it is very painful or anything like that. But you think, oh, do I need to have that? One, is it going to be very painful? Um you might think this is only an illiterate woman who thinks like that. Very sorry. Whoever you are, however educated you are, you be the CEO of the company, still the women has the same issue. Like, is it going to be extremely painful? Do I need to do it? Why do I need to do it? Can I skip it? Why? This is not how you must think, because as I said, this is one cancer. If you are able to detect it at a pre-cancerous stage or a beginning stage, you can prevent it. Now, what are the stages? Like, these are the cancer happens in the cervical cells. Now, the cervical cells, or any cell for that matter, first they go through dysplasias and then only they become neoplasia. Now, what is dysplasia? What is neoplasia? Dysplasia is just the cells are getting little haywire. They are not in the right normal cell. Neoplasia is cancer cells. So there are cervical cells that can be taken in a pap smear and sent to pathology, and the pathologist can say whether there are dysplasias. Now, the dysplasia can be what to say. There are cervical intra. I mean, we say it is uh, the dysplasic cells can be just inside the cervix or inside so many. There are cervix has the layers. Is it in the first layer, second layer, third layer? Or is it spread outside the cervix? Now, these are the stages of the cancer. So, any woman, at least a woman who is above 35, who is a reproductive age group, or if you are in the high risk, for example, you have had a multiple partner, you have had a sexually transmitted disease, or if you think in your mind, I have my mother had the cervical cancer, there is a strong streak of cancer in my family, like that, it is mandatory that you do a pap smear. Yearly once will be ideal, but at least 2 years once you do a pap smear. In this pap smear, what do you do? Simply, what is the procedure? Like any gynecological examination, the patient is put on a lithotomy position, cervix is visualized. Using a spatula, we collect the cervical cells and send it to the pathologist, put it in a preservative and send it to the pathologist. Now the pathologist reads the cell and tells you, yes, there are dysplastic cells. There are problematic cells which are not normal. Now, in such a case, the gynecologist will definitely advise you, depending on what stage the problem is, to go through a treatment protocol. Because, for example, let me take one example. I am doing a pap smear, it is unexpected. Let's say it's a master health check, and she has not had any major issues except for pelvic pain here and there and occasional bleeding that is not, which she was not even very sure that it. See, usually our women are very, very good in creating a reason. Like they say, no, no, it is okay. I had heavy work today. That is why I had this hot thing and all that. So, what happens is that the pathologist says there is dysplasia, then we understand. We go through a very detailed clinical examination and make a treatment protocol. For example, we are thinking it is dysplasia. Now, the treatment will depend on the age of the women, the parity. For example, if it is just a 30-year-old woman who's just got married, she has a problem, dysplasia. Now, you really can't say, no, let us take the cervix because there is a possibility precancerous, because we'll also have to consider her need to have a family, need to go through the pregnancy. So, depending on that, there are treatments like conization, where you just remove only that, like a cone. You have seen an ice cream cone, no? Like a cone. You just remove only the dysplastic part of the cervix, and wait for her, put her through a detailed evaluation and continued follow up. And once she finishes the family, if there is it coming back again and again, she can have a definitive treatment. So, pap smear is a very, very simple uh, procedure. So, you don't have to be really worried about having a pap done because it is not painful. Um, and it is a very simple procedure. Once you have the PAP report normal, it is good that you know your cervix is healthy and you don't need require any other further management. So please, sometimes when you have a gynec infection, particularly a sexually transmitted infection, these days we also have the opportunity to see whether it is because of human papilloma virus. It is a sexually transmitted, it's a sexually related issue. So, in such cases, once you have a viral infection, there is no definitive treatment for the viral infection. But you do have vaccines, cervical vaccines, that are very helpful in preventing particularly cancer related to human papilloma virus. Now, these cervical vaccines can be particularly very interestingly given to young girls who are 13 plus, uh, and it can be given before they start their sexual uh, activity. It is given first month, second month, and the sixth month, and it effectively prevents cancer due to human papilloma virus. Now, please understand, not all cancers in cervix is because of human papilloma virus. So there is still a possibility that even after taking a cervical uh, cancer vaccine, that the risk becomes very less, but still there is a risk. So having a pap smear regularly as a part of the checkup, as a part of the women health check, is mandatory to keep you healthy and to prevent cervical cancer. So, what are the stages of cervical cancer? Like any cancer, it is stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. Stage 4 is where metastasis has happened, it has gone to other parts of the body. And stage 1 is where it is only in the cervix, it has not even gone to the uterus. Stage 2, when it reaches the uterine, that is the reproductive system. Stage 3, it has gone through the lymph nodes. So, depending on the stage, that will be the treatment. For example, a stage 1, we can do what is called as a Virgin's hysterectomy, where you completely remove, give a gap and completely remove the cervix, uterus, and lymph nodes that might have been affected because of the cancer. So, anyone who is above 35, anyone who wants to prevent cancer, it is important that you go through the pap smear very regularly. And it is a simple, very possibly there is a mild discomfort. Nowadays, you have a discomfort for so many reasons. So, it is not something that you need to worry about. Please feel free and have the pap regularly. Thank you. Okay, Neelima, thanks.